This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by Dr. Paul Zickler, the medical director from YesWellness.com. And we're talking a lot today about our sedentary lifestyles. We sit too much. Dr. Zickler insists that regardless of age and circumstance, we move whenever we possibly can. Here's this list. This is wonderful stuff. 5 myths about exercise and aging. For your comment, Dr. Zickler, myth number 1. There's no point to exercising. I'm going to get old anyway.
I love that one.
So do I. That's very funny.
Yeah, but you know what? And it's funny, but that's what you hear from people.
Sure, of course it is.
I mean, and this is again to stress the point. You're never too old to do exercise, and whatever you do is a great starting point. So you don't have to do any extraordinary things. And the thing is. The fact is that any kind of exercise, you're going to feel better, and you're going to live longer, and you're going to improve things or reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, heart disease, obesity.
Sure. Okay. And myth number 2, older people shouldn't exercise. They should save their strength and rest.
I love that one too.
I mean, you're a doctor. You've heard this stuff a million times.
And we've battled a sedentary lifestyle already. So and everybody knows that we've been talking about sedentary lifestyle and how bad that is and what to do. But the thing is that it'll benefit you, especially as a senior. It's going to reduce the number of times you're going to have to see the doctor.
Sure.
It's going to reduce the number of times you're going to be in the hospital. It's hopefully going to reduce the amount of medicines. It's going to increase your empowerment of looking after your health.
Okay, myth number 3, exercise puts me at risk of falling down, and that is a legitimate fear, particularly as you get even older.
Well, you know what? And that is the answer to that is yes.
It does.
That does.
Life does come with some risk.
But that's because they're not doing regular exercise.
Ah.
And so if they do regular exercise, their risk of falling is actually less
because their sense of balance becomes enhanced.
Their sense of balance, their strength, their ability to react if they trip is going to be much faster. So this whole thing about, I really like this concept of neurological patterning. And I always remember I told you that story about jumping into the boat last year. I got to the dock and I wanted to jump in the boat. And all of a sudden, my brain is processing this, okay? My brain is looking at this jump, and then it's going to tell my muscles that are going to be involved in this jump what to do, and then send the message to do it. And so during that time, I go to do it, and of course I am rocking the boat, and I'm almost falling off the other side. And it's because that patterning slows down. But the more you exercise, the faster that gets. Those muscles react faster to the message from the brain. And so you're not going to fall down. You're going to be able to counteract that falling down. And
that flows really nicely into this next myth, which is number 4, and it's too late. I'm already too old to start exercising. I suspect no one is ever too old.
You're never too old.
Yeah.
You're never too old, really, to start exercising. It's if you're stuck in a chair, there are exercises to do.
Sure.
If you got a disability that allows you only to walk on one leg, there are exercises for you to do. You can't use that as an excuse. It is the motivation to do it. That's the problem.
And myth number 5 was, I'm disabled and I can't exercise sitting down, to which you reply, balderdash, sure you can.
Absolutely. And you can improve your range of motion, your muscle tone, and your health.
Now, I think perhaps, Dr. Paul, we need to take a second, if you don't mind, and discuss exercise itself. Because when we start talking to people of any age, but particularly people who are, shall we say, 45 plus, about beginning an exercise program. Of course, we're back to that New Year's resolution mindset when all of a sudden you have to become swimming suit trim in 4 days or less, and that's just never going to happen. So people's concept of what exercise means in many cases involves all sorts of sweat and effort and pain, and that's not what you're talking about, is it?
Exactly. And what we're talking about is setting some goals for your exercise program. And those goals are basically well-being. If you set your goal, I want to feel better. That's all we're going to start with. We're not going to talk about losing weight or increasing muscle tone. We're not going to talk about going to the gym. We're talking about just getting motivated to doing any kind of exercise at all to make yourself feel better, and then continue that on to reap the full benefits of all the things, and set a goal. And it has to be fun. It's got something that's something you want to do, and that improves the ability that you're going to continue on with the program.
Okay, so by way of making it fun, and we've talked about this briefly already, if you can find someone to exercise with, that is going to make the whole process a whole lot easier, isn't it?
That's right, and choosing a balanced program. And so if one of the things we want to look at is sort of your cardiovascular exercise.
Sure, yeah.
And that's where you're talking about the group of people that are going walking. Well, just doing 10 minutes a day in your own home. 10 minutes a day, you can put it down a little log. Okay, today I've gotten up and I walked, or do the 5-minute rule. Walk 5 minutes out, 5 minutes back. That could be inside your apartment complex, your condo complex. It could be outside. Be better outside if you can just walk around but walk 5 minutes out, 5 minutes back. Do that twice a day. Okay. That's your start.
Right.
If you're in a chair, if you're getting the weights, getting a tomato paste can first, and doing curls for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and do it twice a day. It doesn't matter what situation you're at, just starting out easily.
Right. And again, this is where your doctor is going to come in handy, particularly if you are dealing with a physical disability. Your doctor is going to perhaps even suggest things. So maybe that's not a good one, but have you thought about trying this instead?
Yeah.
The doc can be pretty helpful in that regard.
Oh, absolutely. And if he's really into functional medicine and you're coming in there interested in exercise, he'll be over the moon. And again, we've got to use our technology. He doesn't have to go over every step of exercise with you.
Sure.
If he can get you to a place where either, if you can afford it, going to a trainer, to the YMCA, or get your children involved and your grandchild involved in getting the appropriate video to watch. It's very easy, and they're very good, and they're very instructive, and they're very confined to different periods and different episodes of where you're at physically.
Right.
So the next thing you want to do is sort of looking at your strength and power training. And when I say strength and power training, people say, "Oh my God, I'm not going to look like Charles Atlas." It's basically using muscles, because muscles are the main metabolizers for you, and we lose muscle mass on a continuous basis starting when we're 40. So we got to think about that next. And then the other issues of flexibility and balance come into play after that.
Okay, we'll talk more about that as well. We'll so get a little more sophisticated and more into exercise programs in depth. But this, I think, is more our conversation today, and I'm grateful for your patience here, Dr. Paul, because it's mostly about just getting the wherewithal organized to get started. Once you get started, suddenly it becomes easier. It's the getting started part that's the hardest for so many of us.
That is the hardest.
YesWellness.com. Our guest is the medical director, Dr. Paul Zickler, and he's some fantastic blogs. If you go to YesWellness.com and just start poking around, great links to all sorts of other websites and terrific information, and, of course, all of those products and supplements, and we'll talk about those next time. Always good to have you come by, Dr. Paul.
Thanks, Sterling. My pleasure.
This is Boomer Life, and we'll see you next time right here on CIL 650.